Hello and welcome back to Glassberry Designs. In this video, we're going to go over the story of Dragon Blanchard and his race car, as well as narrate out some of the video as we build the car itself. I'm glad you're able to join us for this video. Please like and subscribe, and we're blessed to have you here. So what we're doing here is we're sorting out all the pieces that have been primered. It's the undercarriage there. We've got the roll bar that was modified a little bit for strength to keep Dragon Blanchard safe in the event of a crash. That's been primered gray. That'll stay gray. We painted the rims blue on the car, matched the sides and roof. So good old Dragon Blanchard always took pride in his hometown. A little town, quaint little place, low population, called Chunnerland, Georgia, where good old Dragon hails from. Dragon Blanchard started his race career at the ripe old age of 15. He used to like to go out in the middle of the night and drive his family's vehicles around. And he didn't have a license, and of course he had to dodge the local law. So right here what we're going to be doing is painting the undercarriage of the car, doing a little detailing on it. We're going to add some flat black to the running gear, the drive shaft, the rear end, front suspension area. Then over the course of this video we're going to add in the colors for the headers and transmission. Get the bottom of that all ready to go for the track. So Dragon Blanchard's personal car was a 1982 Eagle SX4 four-door. Dragon loved that car. It was one of his prized possessions. A beautiful color, mustard yellow, with a brown stripe along the bottom, giving it a two-tone appearance. Dragon took care of that car, gave it regular oil changes. Also, gave it a good wash and hand wax every week to make sure the rust didn't get after it. Eventually put the car in the garage, lifted the suspension, added 33-inch tires to give him a complete ride to tool around his town in. Dragon Blanchard made the income that he needed to cover the cost of his race car and keeping it on the track, trucking it to the track at a local farm where he took care of the hog pit. He was a hog wrestler. Later on, he moved along to a local orchard named Best Orchards, where he took care of all the equipment there and became their lead mechanic. That went hand in hand with his race career. He was able to create quite a little income for himself and keep his car on the track, keep his Eagle on the road. Dragon Blanchard got his nickname when he was about 15 years old. He used to like to go over to his grandmother's house and mow her lawn and keep her yard up for her, do some brush removal, the typical stuff. One day he was out in the yard mowing the lawn and he noticed the flower bed. Saw that there was quite a few hummingbirds there working the flowers. Then he went inside all excited and told his grandmother about it, and mistakenly identified them as dragonflies. From that day moving forward, his name is Dragon Blanchard. Dragon Blanchard was a good driver. Never really got himself into too much of an issue on the racetrack. It was all business out there for him on the racetrack. Well, one day he got himself into a pretty good wreck, banged up his car pretty good. The car is a replica, we're building a replica of right here. He got his car put back together throughout the week, brought it out Saturday night, and Leroy, our track manager, former race champion and race veteran, found an issue with how Dragon had attached his windshield into the car. So Leroy brought it to his attention, and him and Dragon went at it pretty good. Dragon didn't like that being pointed out. Well, that ultimately led to Dragon being suspended. For that particular race, he was told he had to load his car up and bring it home that evening. Dragon wasn't very happy about that. You know, I really wanted to give Dragon the benefit of the doubt there, but I always knew Leroy, our track manager. As I pointed out, he has some pretty good race history under his belt himself. I always knew Leroy to be truthful and accurate. So good old Dragon Blanchard got through that hiccup, got his car back on the track the next week. That's when he invented a little move called the bump and run. That way there he was able to get some track position, regain some of the points he'd lost sitting out that one race. Now, Dragon Blanchard was always real partial to the dirt track racing, specifically the 358 modifieds. Loved himself a good dirt track race, listening to the engines rumble, seeing the dust in the air. But Dragon Blanchard's racetrack locally was paved. That's why we're looking at some racing slicks right there. So Dragon would race his heart out on the weekends. On the weekdays, he'd put his car back together and get it ready for the next weekend's race. During the evenings of the weekdays, he would invite the gang over and they'd work on the car, share a beer or two, which ultimately led to Dragon Blanchard naming his race hauler 30 rack. He had to name the race hauler 30 rack, well, because his race number was 28. He always wanted to be number 30, but he was assigned 28, which is 2 beers shy of a 30 rack. I'm going to move the camera here and bring you in for a closer look while we assemble these tires. Pretty nice tires here. Blue painted rims all throughout. We're going to go ahead and put them together. And we're going to add them to the chassis of the car. See how it rolls. They might even do a test fit of the body. Now, good old Dragon, he liked to save money where he could. Even though he raced for a hobby, he didn't want to spend a lot of money. So what Dragon did is he painted the roof of his car and the passenger side. Because on a circle track, ain't nobody looking at you from the pits, just the bleachers. That's what Dragon always said. So he refused to paint his car other than primer on the driver's side. Dragon bought himself an air compressor, of course, so he could run his air tools, put air in his tires, and do all the things that he needed that required a good air tank. So we noted one day that he showed up to the racetrack with his race number on the air tank and some race sponsors. We asked him about it, and it turns out that nobody actually did sponsor his air tank, but he said that he felt like if he put a number on his air tank, which was the same number as his car, put some stickers on there, sponsors, that'd be a high performance air and make his tires roll faster. Now we're going to get the car fit together and see how it looks on the tires. I think it's coming out pretty well. Like I've said in the past, you guys reach out to me and tell me which bumper you like. I'll get that bumper put on it. You'll check the stance here in a second. That'll pretty much conclude out this video. We'll be back with a little bit more about Dragon Blanchard and his car here coming up in another video. Thank you if you followed along to the end. Appreciate a thumbs up and a comment. Subscribe to the channel. And until we see each other again, everybody out there be blessed.